Hey, what's up, cats and kittens? And shout out to all my Cerebralites. It is me, the Cerebral Diva, and she's back with another episode of RealiTEA, and that's TEA because I give it to you scalding hot. So grab your cups, grab your saucers, gather around, people, and let's all partake in this libation of Bachelorette tea. But before you go another further, do yourself a favor, and while you're at it, do me a solid. Take a second and hit that subscribe button, and once you've done that, take another second to hit that tiny little bell so you can turn on your alerts, and that way you will be kept in the loop. Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's talk about The Bachelorette. I'm going to try to give you guys a very abridged version of this episode if possible, because I'll be honest, part of the reason why this review is late is just because it's 2 hours. 2 hours is a huge commitment for me. You know, I'm a very sort of erratic and impatient person, you know. Taking 2 hours out of my life to watch the show and then taking maybe an hour or two out afterwards to do a review, it's a huge commitment. I've had relationships that have lasted less time. So, having said that, we're going to talk about this episode. So, we get to see DeMario come back with his tail tucked between his legs. First of all, DeMario, why did you even bother coming back? Like, you looked a fool on national TV. And if you were going to come back, couldn't you have at least prepared a better speech, a better apology? Couldn't you have bought roses, done something other than show up in a suit prepared for the rose ceremony? Like, I don't know. It was just half-assed to me, the way he decided to come back. So anyway, he shows back up and he's, you know, basically trying to hijack the entire conversation. He's going on and on about how he's sorry, how he should have done this, and, you know, everything he should have said prior to being put out of the house is basically what he was saying. So Rachel sort of sat there and listened patiently to everything he had to say. And when he started continuing with these run-on sentences and he wasn't giving her the opportunity to interject, finally she just shut him down and said, "Look, you should have said this, a couple days ago when you had the opportunity. I gave you multiple opportunities to come clean. Every time I gave you an opportunity, you refused to even acknowledge the fact that you were lying. And so for that reason, I can't trust you. Goodbye. It's been real. You know, continue moving forward. But Ford is not that way in the house. Ford is that way out of my life." And that's the moment for me personally that I fell in love with Rachel, because I'm like, she's reading this man on national TV and he looks a complete fool on national TV. And I've said this once, but I'll say it again. I don't think DeMario's intention to be on the show was actually to fall in love with Rachel. I think his intention was to audition to be the first Black Bachelor. And he has now he may get on that. What's the show where they put all the contestants, the Bachelor House or whatever? He may make it on that show just because he's good television, because he has absolutely no scruples whatsoever. So I could see him on that show, but definitely not the first Black Bachelor. Now I will tell you who I believe who would get my vote for the first Black Bachelor, based on what I've seen so far, and that's Fred. Now, this week was sort of a sad week for me because Rachel just finally came to terms that the chemistry between she and Fred was non-existent. And as much as I hate the fact that Rachel did that, I can definitely understand why. See, here's the problem. This is why they say good guys finish last, because Fred definitely has good guy energy written all over him. Based on what I've seen on the show, I can't necessarily sign off on that because I don't know him as a person, but based on the energy that he puts out on the show, he just seems like a very genteel person. He seems very kind, very considerate, and unfortunately, that's a gift and a curse. Now, the problem with Fred was, I believe Fred was raised right. He was raised with manners, and he wanted to first of all, let me tell you guys what happened. So, all the guys go on the Ellen show, and you know, they sort of do their magic mic and have like a magic mic moment where they're bumping and grinding all over the women in the audience. And, you know, a lot of the guys are mentioning that they've kissed Rachel already. Now, Fred has a previous relationship with Rachel. They knew each other prior to the show. So when he hears all the guys talking about how they've kissed Rachel before, you know, he starts to get in his feelings a little bit, like, wow, you've kissed her, but I haven't kissed her. So that starts playing these tricks in his head, like, you know, these guys are ahead of me and I have to catch up. So he decides that he's going to go for it. So after they leave the Ellen show, and they're sort of having this, I don't know, this sort of decompressing, downloading session. And Rachel's calling the guys in the room one by one and sort of talking to them. And so finally Fred's moment comes, and he's sort of been building up to this moment. I'm going to kiss Rachel. I'm going to kiss Rachel. So he goes into the room with Rachel, and instead of just kissing her, he asks for her permission, which was, that was the very magnanimous thing to do. He was being a gentleman in that particular moment. And so he didn't want to just, give her an open mouth kiss without any warning. So he's like, do you mind if I give you a kiss? Now, being a woman, I understand Rachel's perspective as well, too, because sometimes you want a guy to take control of the situation. You don't want a guy to always be so, have you ever gotten a guy you give him your phone number and then he texts you and says, is it okay for me to call? Just call. Why are you asking my permission to call me? If I gave you my phone number, phones are made to be called. So don't ask for my permission to call. If you're interested in getting to know me, stop asking my permission to do stuff. Just take the initiative to do what feels right for you. And if it's not a fit for me, we'll have that conversation. So I can understand how Rachel felt, because a lot of times you just want guys to show initiative. You want to see who they are. And so Fred, unfortunately, didn't understand the nuances of what it is to be a woman. And so he asked for her permission, and it really backfired. So he gave Rachel a kiss, and the kiss felt awkward. Even watching it, I'm just like, ugh, I don't know. That it just, you could feel the lack of passion from this kiss. You could just look at Rachel based on the way you've seen her kiss other guys and tell that she was so not into this. Now, I'm not sure if she wasn't into it just because she still sees him as a kid because she knew him when he was younger, or if she wasn't into it just because he sort of blew the moment. So after she kisses him, he leaves, and he's sort of feeling accomplished, like, I just did the damn thing. I'm in there. And, he's sort of high-fiving himself. And then Rachel goes and calls him back into the room. Well, she goes out to the room where all the guys are, and she calls Fred into the room and says, do you mind if we talk for a second? So all the guys are like, oh, he's about to get a rose, and thinking that this is going to be good for Fred. But she pulls Fred aside and says, look, this isn't going to work for me, and I feel it would be unfair for me to keep you here, so I'm going to let you go. And you can tell in that instance that Fred was, he definitely held it together, but you could tell that his ego was crushed, his ego was bruised. And I felt bad because it's like, it's a catch-22. I don't think Rachel was wrong for what she did, but I wish that there was some way that Fred could have stayed on the show, just because, I'm always one to root for the underdog. I'm always one to root for the good guy. And I hate this logic of, sometimes women always want this sort of hyper masculine energy, this dominant alpha male energy, because sometimes that backfires as well. And Fred seems like he'd be the type of guy who did the things that women say they want. And unfortunately, though, in Rachel's case, that came in a package that she just wasn't genuinely attracted to. So I understand why she had to send him home. So all of that happened. I'm trying to think of what else happened on the show that was really interesting. Oh, there was some, the one guy, oh my gosh, I should have give me just 1 second. I'm going to grab his name really quick. So Lee Garrett. And for those of you who are Bachelor fans, you already know that Lee was sort of outed on Twitter maybe a week ago about some racist and homophobic anti-LGBT tweets. And so we see sort of the manifestation of his energy, his sort of bigotry, if you will. And let me not just label him a complete and total bigot. Maybe he's more of an asshole than he is a bigot, but he definitely has some bigot-like tendencies. And there's another guy in the house whose name is escaping me at this moment, and I'm not going to bother going to look up his name, but he's really insecure. He feels like he's not getting the time with Rachel, and for whatever reason, he's sort of going under the radar. And so we see him sort of going from guy to guy to guy, trying to seek out reassurance that she's really into him and that he really deserves to be in the house. And so while he's sort of seeking solace amongst his fellow contestants, Lee chimes in and basically starts going in on the guy. And having known Lee's tweets, when you see him going against a black guy, for me personally, it took on a different energy, because now I'm questioning Why are you really involving yourself, first of all, in something that had absolutely nothing to do with you because he wasn't talking to you? And why are you being so passive aggressive in terms of how you're trying to antagonize this man into an altercation, which is what it appeared to be to me. So that's pretty much where the episode left off. And I realize, you guys, I'm skipping over a lot just because I don't have time to go over every single finite episode of this 2 hours. Like I said, it's a lot of time for me personally. So I'm giving you my abridged version, giving you the sort of the bullet points of things that I thought was interesting during this episode. Oh, and really quick, back to Fred. I think if anyone should be the Black Bachelor, please let it be Fred. He, to me, represents what you want in a man. He's kind, he's thoughtful. I personally thought that he was very attractive. And I just think that that's the type of guy that any dad or any mother would want their son, that want their daughter to be with. He just has good energy to me. So okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, and please share if you feel so inclined. Remember to follow me across all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Also remember, it's better to be pissed off than to be pissed on. And also remember to live better, love harder, and think smarter. It is me, the Cerebral Diva, and I will talk to you guys again soon, probably tomorrow, because that's when the new episode airs. Oh my gosh, another 2 hours out of my life.